accurate. So one of them tells on another one, Mr. Young, did you see this? And I said, no, I didn't see it because I'm not on social media. And they explain it to me, and they show it to me, and I go, oh, you don't want to elevate this, but I go, you might want to tell them it's not a good idea. In fact, it might even cross the line into possibly criminal to impersonate somebody and then disparage them online. So you might want to tell them that. And honestly, I thought it would end with that, but then as the days continued, this wasn't a coordinated, like, it's not like they all sat around and did it. It was, it snowballed. Kids started following on TikTok, these accounts. Mine was like, me and another teacher are gay, which I'm not going to minimize. But the stuff that was said about a lot of these other teachers was so reprehensible, and that I can't believe that it was done, and it was just done as if that was joking. I love the joke. I'm a funny guy, but that's not that's not the norm. This joking was not the norm. But so once it started, the scope of this came out. We kind of got together as teachers and we're like, this is not okay. And again, I think this issue really is painted as, an issue that, number one, if we would have simply brought students, parents, teachers, everybody together, we would have been able to find a solution to this. But there's just some disturbing trends that I see, and this isn't just here. I talk to teachers all over Chester County, and this is, this type of stuff goes on everywhere, whereby we are not including who I believe, and I think almost everyone believes to be the most important stakeholders in these conversations. And so this thing spiraled out of control, and teachers, I didn't initially involve myself in it because I knew I was running for Congress, and this story wasn't about me running for Congress. This was about teachers, being treated with respect and given the dignity that they deserve, and most importantly, restoring the relationship between these kids and these teachers, whereby these kids understand what they did wrong, they acknowledge what they did wrong, and then they make amends for it by sitting down and saying, I am sorry that I've done this to you. And those are the things that haven't happened. Those are the things that certainly weren't pursued. And that's why, so I stayed out of it so their story could be told. Yeah. But now, now that it's gotten this big, there are bigger implications here that we need to talk about.
Right. And that's where I want to go with it. And I did report, just so you know, I did report on this, and especially the teacher, Patrice Motz, who had allowed her name to be out there. The Spanish teacher, they took a photo of her family, her beautiful family, her husband, and young children. And the line was, do you like to touch kids? Encouraging like pedophilia, sicko things. And any mama bear, I can relate to that. It's one thing when people make fun of you, the adult, but when you're going after that kind of thing, that just gets downright creepy. For you, it was a situation where, they took you and another male teacher, right, superimposed the bodies on a man and a woman in a bed. I doubt these kids meant to be homophobic. You know what I mean? I just think they thought that was funny. The New York Times said, oh, it's homophobic behavior. Who knows if these kids, with all the talk of Pride Month and this and that, maybe they're just thinking about that. And they're trying to, at that age, they're thinking about all these issues going on, and so there are different levels of it. It just struck me personally, Neil, that they didn't bring in the parents first. They called the cops, they called the state, they issued a statement about it. The kids were saying First Amendment, this is my First Amendment right, which blew my mind. And I just thought, wow, in the private schools, the first thing they would do, they would call in each parent, they'd call in the parents individually with the parents and the kids and have that conversation, the parents being the front line. I haven't heard that happened.
Right. Except for, and it, again, just from an investigative process, kudos to, the colleagues and my coworkers that I work with. Miss Motz is an incredible person. She's an incredible teacher. Miss Jaffe's an incredible person and incredible teacher. Mr. Whitelock is somebody that, I've looked up to since I've gotten there. And he's a guy within my department who, who is nothing but a professional every single day. He walks in with a tie. He's, he is exactly what you would expect. And so it's one thing for this to happen. And then it's not accidental. Like and I can't, I can't put my finger on or speak to all of the, sort of where were the breakdowns, but I can say this. It's pretty understood as a teacher, as an administrator, as a district, that you reach out to the parents because you understand that whether it's parents or guardians or no matter what the situation, the first thing that you have to do is you've got to get all of these people in and say, here's what happened. Is there something I don't understand? Let me hear your side. How did this happen? You get all the details. And there's nobody that can do that like parents, or guardians. And I also think, parents, you're a parent, I'm a parent.
Mm-hmm.
If this happened in my kid's school, I would want to know, even if my kid wasn't involved. I was having breakfast this morning with a parent, and they said, their kid is in the school. And they said, I found out about this by the New York Times article last week.
Yeah.
And
that's a problem.
And so that's a huge problem because as a parent, I would go, hey, son, hey, daughter, let me see your phone. Do you know anything about this? Do you know any of your friends that know anything about this? I'm calling your friends' parents. I want to hear this. Number one, I want to make sure you're not involved. If you are, I'm dragging you in and we're apologizing. But also I want to help with this investigation because oftentimes parents have information that a district doesn't have or teachers don't have. And that's what real partnership within a community looks like. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're lacking. And it stems from, there's other policies. When you create policies that say, when your kid at a middle school level, as they're going through adolescence, maybe they're struggling with gender identity or who they are. When we say it may not be safe to tell parents, and so therefore we're not going to tell them that.
Yes.
That is where the groundwork is laid, not to partner with parents, but that's where the groundwork is laid to actually divide. And I don't know why it's happening or where it's coming from, but it's a trend that's happening all through education. I see it in this area, and I see it nationally. There's stories all over the country about it. That is a huge problem.
So Neil Young running for the U.S. Running for Congress and wants to represent. So take me through. You made a statement to me, Neil, last night at the big event there, launching the big office there on South Church Street in Westchester, Trump Force 47. But it's not just about Trump. It's about really making America great again, making our schools great again, and that's where you come in. So you made a couple statements about the importance of having a veteran educator, a teacher in our legislature, number one. Number two, you talked about the fact that we inserted tablets and that these devices, and I just want to get into that, your view on this technology being used instead of books often in the schools.
Yeah, I don't remember what the comment was, but I will tell you this, that if you were to poll the educators that I work with, mm-hmm. And maybe even, and I'm sure all the educators I talk to, countywide, if you had a choice to go back to only have a piece of chalk in your hand and a chalkboard, or to be one-on-one, one-to-one with our devices, if you had those options, the overwhelming majority of teachers would say, give me a piece of chalk. And maybe they wouldn't have said that 5 years ago, but we have nearly replaced teachers with devices. It was great when the device was used as a tool, but we have districts that make statements like technology is essential to learning, or technology is central or key to learning. Really? Like Thomas Jefferson was not a dumb man, but he had a quill. Pen, that's absurd. That's outrageous. And what it does is it pushes the teacher to the side. Instead of the teacher being, the deliverer of knowledge and information, and the person who helps these children along in their process, wherever they are in that process. At an elementary level, these kids are great at, their brains are ripe to memorize. They're sponges. At a middle school level, they look to explore, go deeper into what it is. And then at a high school level, we really should be preparing kids to what is their belief system, what do they feel strongly and passionate about, and can they defend that, through their words, through their actions, through their writing. That's what we should be doing. But instead, all too often we're replacing good instruction with apps and devices, and then to try to as a teacher to stand in front of a classroom. You actually can't stand in front of a classroom because I'm staring at an iPad, kind of up at me. I have no idea what they're doing. Then I have to use another piece of technology to try to make sure that their piece of technology is actually where it's supposed to be. There are days where I have given to just turning kids' desks away from me and teaching from behind them so that I can see what is actually on their iPads. That's insane. Yeah. And that's not even to mention, the massive. I mean, they've got Teams chat features and other ways. We have a no cell phone policy in our school. They put, the vast majority of them put their cell phones in their lockers and they don't see them again until the end of the day. But then they just get on Teams and they chat and they share homework and they go, here are the answers, to this. It is undermining education to a degree that I don't think the average person actually knows. And I think we'll look back in 20 years and go, that was the single biggest mistake that we have ever made in education.
Yeah. And it's important to hear your voice, an authentic voice as a veteran teacher. You said to me last night, what are you, 8 years when you could retire in 8 years? Mm-hmm. Why now?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to I'd love to get to 30, and who knows, maybe I will, but some teachers, the teachers that I work with and the teachers that I know, we didn't get in this for the paycheck, okay? And this isn't, I'm not gonna, we all make choices in life, right? But we didn't get into it for the paycheck. So the idea that I can just hang on and collect a paycheck is I can't do that. And God bless people who can, but that's number one. That's not something that I can't live with myself. I know for a fact my wife, couldn't live with me if I was miserable every day. And it's not something I want to model for my own kids. And so one of my favorite, my favorite people that I read and I listen to, Dennis Prager, I love him. He says that courage is the rarest of all human traits. And I think that's true. All it takes is for a few more people to stand up and say, this is what we want our kids to do. This is what I want my students to do. Mm-hmm. Stand up for what you believe is right. And don't worry about, the results of that. They'll work themselves out. There's larger plans sometimes, that are at work.
Talking to Neil Young, who is considered a political outsider, Westchester, Pennsylvania, running for Congress, wants to be your next congressman from Pennsylvania, 22 years of experience as a social studies teacher in Chester County. And no, not the famous singer-songwriter Neil Young, but to my producer, Henry, I just sent you actually a video. It's a 30-second clip. And I just want to ask you, if we can play it in a second, but I want to ask you why this video, it's a cool video, but you start out on a tight shot of you, then it kind of zooms out, you're wrestling, you're talking while you're wrestling. And so I do want to ask you, can we play it? Yeah, let's listen in, and then I'll ask why you chose this particular way to do your video. Let's listen in.
I'm Neil Young, and I'm running for United States Congress. Open your eyes. Our schools are failing. Our neighborhoods are a mess. It's time to fight back. Say it! Say it!
Vote Neil Young, teacher for Congress.
Get off your ass and vote.
Paid for by the Neil Young for Congress campaign.
It's a great, quick, action-filled quite frankly, I've never seen a campaign ad like this, ever. Why? I mean, your sweat, you know what I mean? You're obviously in a combat position and you're wrestling. So tell me why this ad?
Well, I mean, wrestling's been a big part of my life from the time I was young. I wrestled locally here in Downingtown. I've coached here at the Great Valley School District for a long time. And so I really do. There's so many coaching gives me the ability to impact kids in a way that, even being in the classroom doesn't. And there's so many lessons to be learned, in a sport like wrestling. And so it was really, that's a very natural, you see, I was asked when I was first running by some of the people on the committee, hey, what congressman would you most want to model your tenure after? And I'm supposed to probably give the safe answer, like the Ted Cruz. He's great. Marco Rubio, these are great guys. No, Jim Jordan is the guy that I would model it after. And they said, but Jim Jordan, he doesn't, do much in legislation. I said, but what Jim Jordan does is he investigates and gets to the truth. And, he also happens to be an All-American wrestler from Ohio. And so I think, I was trying to play on that. I think that there's power in storytelling. And there's power in sort of the visual effect. So when you combine, really good story, powerful storytelling, people want to hear your story. They want to hear the story about how you got there. And then, we also live in, you'll go back to that technology. We live in a very visual world and a very fast-paced world. People don't have time. This video wasn't intent on let me lay out my entire platform. There's plenty of boring political campaign videos out there where you can get that. And you can go to my website, you can hear more. You can email me, we'll talk about that. NeilYoung24.com, by the way. But this video was intended to make a splash, to get in your face and to say, I am an outsider. Yeah. But I'm an outsider to the world of politics, but I'm an insider to this community. Okay. I said this, I was raised here. I learned to love learning here in Coatesville and Downingtown. I met my wife here. I've raised 4 kids here. I own my home here. I baptize my kids in the Brandywine River. This is everything about Chester County is what I love. My parents moved me here when I was, from Upper Darby when I was 7, 8 years old, in part because they wanted a better opportunity for me. And that's what Chester County embodies to me. And so therefore I'm going to fight for it. And this video lets everybody know that I'm a political outsider, but I'm one of you. And in fact, if I could take a line from Neil Young's song, I won't sing it because that would end my campaign immediately. but the line is, and maybe he'll even issue cease and desist here, but the line is, take a look at my life. I'm a lot like you. That's from Old Man. I love that song. I'm a huge fan of his music, not his politics, but take a look at my life. I'm a lot like you. That, I believe, more than anything, that is what people are looking for out of their elected officials. They're not looking for politicians. They're looking for people who I don't have to poll and survey. I don't have to have town hall, meetings per se. I don't have to have these phony set up fabricated things because I know the people of this community. I've got 18 nieces and nephews. I've got, both of my sisters, all of my in-laws. Everybody is deeply rooted here in Chester County. If more people who are deeply rooted in our community decide to run for office, we would combine the best system that's ever been devised with the best people running it. And gosh almighty, you want to talk about America first, or you want to talk about, prosperity and hope. That's exactly what we would be.
But, Neil Young, you're challenging incumbent Democrat Representative Chrissy Houlihan. She says that she's a moderate.
Right.
She says she's moderate.
She does say that, and I think that's one of the biggest frustrations. And there's a lot of correlation, just between sort of fighting for truth, in the school system and fighting for truth at a legislative level. We all know this, that the education system is leaned left, for as long as we've all kind of known it. Now, I would say in the last 10 years it's taken a precipitous left turn, but I don't mind being around those people. We have very robust conversations and debate. When you're willing to stand on and defend what you believe in, whether it's the left or the right, I applaud that. I respect it. And quite frankly, I enjoy it. I think the best comes out of that more often than not. But when you present yourself as one thing, and in fact, you're doing something completely opposite. Say, for example, when you present yourself as a, quote, friend to Israel, like she has. But then when somebody in Congress makes anti-Semitic statements and you refuse to condemn them as she has, that's disingenuous. I believe people see through that. Now, getting that, that message out, or when you say, I'm trying to protect the border, and yet you voted against House Bill 2, time and time again, you abdicate your responsibility, or you vote in opposition of what you would say as being a moderate. And then because you've got all the funding, all the backing, all the wealth that comes along with it, the PR machine and the spin machine goes into full force and allows you to craft something that is it's not authentic, and quite frankly, it's a lie. And that angers me more than anything. That you're able to get away with just really what the people want. People want to secure our border. Okay, that. And so because that, instead of actually doing the hard thing, or what should be the easy thing, but apparently in your party it's the hard thing, instead of doing the hard thing that, gosh, even John Fetterman knew that, is knowing the right thing to do about with Israel, instead of doing the hard thing, you do the easy thing because it's politically advantageous to you, and then you try to tell the people something opposite.
Yes.
I believe the American people, I believe the people of Chester and Berks County are smarter than that, and I believe they see through it, and I believe they're ready for a change.
Well, listen, I want to continue the conversation. We want to get you in person in the studio upcoming. Neil Young, what a pleasure to meet you. And, thank you so much for coming on. Just what is the latest? I know school's out right now, but as far as, are you on sabbatical, or how does that work as far as, because the upcoming election is happening, but I imagine maybe some of the Democrats are conflicted in one way. Maybe now that they know you're a conservative running, they hope that you don't come back, or do they hope that you lose? Maybe they're conflicted about that. I don't know.
I guess you might have to ask that. I like to think that I will be very much missed if I do not come back. My plan, again, I'm on sabbatical, so my plan is obviously to come back. I'm thankful that my district approved that and allowed that. But I know that if I don't end up, if I'm not missed, I will be missed. I know that, but I will be missed. I will miss working with some of the greatest people that I've ever known. And but I also know I get texts every single day, and these aren't political texts. Mm-hmm. These aren't people that are, hard right, hard left. These are just everyday average people that are going, you understand, how proud I am, or do you understand how exciting this is? Or, so I really do think, I think that people understand this, and, I'm thankful for the opportunity.
Yeah. I'm watching.
And I would ask you,
yeah. I'm just watching the enthusiasm and the energy that obviously you bring to the table, and especially younger voters coming to your events, packing these events, and then the school issues, the issues that we've talked about with indoctrination in our schools and what's happening in the schools, and parents trying to push back. I have relatives in Chester County, I told you this last night, who chose to live there in a certain area, not because they love the house necessarily, but because they love the school district. They're now looking at private schools for their young kids. This is a huge issue for people.
Yes, you're right. It's a huge issue. And I've said this along the way, if we get all the quote political issues mm-hmm. right, if we resolve them, if we close our border, if we unlock American energy independence once again, and we bring gas prices down, if we reduce government spending and increase, accountability, in those areas, and we can actually make life better for the average American, if we do all of the things, and then we turn all this over to a generation that has been taught things like, humans are bad for the planet, or we live on stolen land, or America is an oppressor. If we have students, that are being taught, capitalism exploits everybody, and it's bad for humanity. Yeah. If that's the case, we're going to turn it over to a generation that's just going to mess it up. So, really, honestly, school reform, widespread school reform, and I heard before I got on, the Pennsylvania budget. Yes. Again, this is the cowardice that we don't need. This is even Governor Shapiro saying he stood for one thing, and he came out, strongly. The reason he came out strongly in favor of, school choice and school options and all of these things is because he knows that's what the people want. He knows that's what's going to get him elected. But then he turns around and he caves and he bows to all the special interest, groups that exist. and he doesn't follow through. If he really thinks that he's a presidential candidate, he better look himself in the mirror, because that's not how leadership works, and that's not how a presidential candidate should be operating.
Amen. Neil Young, we'll leave it there. I know you're running for the 6th district to hope, that you hope to beat an incumbent this is a tough one. And you're an outsider. You are somebody who's the underdog, right? You're viewed as the underdog. But I love that wrestling video, as you're saying, like, people have got to get involved, and the time is now.
Yeah, and you can check it out on Facebook. You can check it out on neilyoung24.com. Listen, if you like what you hear, reach out to me. There's a donation link. I got 2 kids in college, 2 kids in private school, and my wife's an art teacher. So, I'm going to run a lean campaign, but I tell you right now, it's going to be that video. It's going to be fighting for single thing that we get, because this community is worth it.
A new energy. Well, listen, Neil Young, until next time, my friend, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Don. I appreciate the time. Tell Rich Zioli I'll see him out there. Give me his room number at what hotel he's staying at, okay?
Will do. I'll tell Zioli. I know that was
right.
That was such a great event last night, and that was everybody's like, Zioli, he's going to the convention, to the RNC. Everybody's excited because Zioli he's representing us here, right? At WPHT. Neil, thanks a million.
Thank you, Don.
Have a blessed Friday. Yeah, he's really just a great guy. You can get that sense of just his tremendous energy, but authenticity. So he doesn't come off as a phony baloney or somebody who's a career politician, because guess what? He's not. And so it really shows. But just the reaction from people at another packed event where he was there, and some of the other guests, I'm lining things up for next week too, and trying to talk Zioli into maybe calling in. I know it is a different time zone. We forget that in the Midwest, because they'll be in Milwaukee. So we got to talk about it. 855-839-1210. But I was blown away by the fact, as I thought, oh, he's a candidate, he should come on, he's a great guy. And then I realized, oh my goodness, he's at the center, at the core of this huge controversy at a local middle school, making national news. So I just wanted to get his take on that one. 855-839-1210. So much developing today. Want to get to all of it. Appreciate you on this Friday. Be right back.
Next week, Rich Zioli will be at the center of the political universe in Milwaukee and the Republican National Convention. Listen afternoons 3 till 7 every day next week for live coverage of breaking news, the inside scoop from top political experts, what's happening on the convention floor, and the issues that matter most to you.
Which candidate will defend our democracy and freedom?
Power always resides with the people, always.
Rich Zioli, live from the Republican National Convention. Afternoons 3 till 7 all next week. Only on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT and on the free Odyssey app.
We are Nancy and Robert Harding, and we became Crash Proof members in 2018.
It is important to go to a Crash Proof event. I went to the event. He wouldn't go.
I tend to be a little more skeptical.
He's skeptical.
If you're skeptical of the Crash Proof event, I'm probably the best witness you could get. I am convinced now. With the Crash Proof system, the interest gets credited to your account, and then you make interest on that new principal amount. I saw the 12% return. The compounding on that is going to just push our value up that much quicker.
Double-digit interest is possible any year. And he can thank his wife for going to that event. Can't you, honey?
Every good husband knows that that's what he should do. Listen to his wife.
Only Crash-Proof Retirement can guarantee peace of mind in a legally binding, recorded financial meeting. Schedule an appointment or register for our next event at Downingtown Country Club, July 23rd. 800-722-9728 or crashproofretirement.com.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now, but I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code SCORE for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime, right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code SCORE for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code SCORE.
This summer, take a trip down memory lane with me and hear from the legends of baseball. I'm Brett Boone from the Brett Boone Podcast. Every week I have a conversation with one of baseball's greats to talk about the glory days and reflect on today's game. Randy Johnson, Pete Rose, Deion Sanders, Jay Buhner, Albert Bell, and Goose Gossage, they've all shared their wisdom with stories of their playing days. To hear who's next, follow and listen to the Brett Boone Podcast on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
The following is a paid commercial announcement.
Inflation fears started in 2021. The warning signs were everywhere. But Senator Bob Casey ignored the warnings and sided with the liberals in Washington, voting for trillions in reckless, wasteful spending. And all that reckless spending made inflation worse, driving up prices on almost everything you buy. Now, Pennsylvania families are paying the price for Senator Casey's reckless spending. Our state's been hit the hardest by higher prices. With Senator Casey's reckless spending, grocery prices are up 25%. Rent, it's up 21%. And electricity's up 29%. Senator Casey helped create this mess. And now, Pennsylvania families are struggling to make ends meet. Call Senator Casey at 202-224-6324. Tell him to support S575, the Fight Inflation Through Balanced Budgets Act, and fight against inflationary government spending. Paid for by One Nation, onenationamerica.org.
Keswick Theater welcomes the Oak Ridge Boys on August 2nd, the Little River Band August 10th, and the Righteous Brothers on August 20th. Tickets are on sale at keswicktheater.com. That's keswicktheater.com.
Look at you. Your life is under control. Errands? Done. Groceries? Got 'em. It's a good time to give yourself a reward. You know the one. Your favorite tasty cake treat. Is it the delicious crimpet or the mouthwatering candy cake? No matter where you are, choose what feels right and enjoy. You've earned it, and you know you deserve it. Tasty cake, accept no substitutes.
Guess what, people? Wendy's has new saucy nugs. You heard me. Wendy's nugs now come in 7 saucy flavors. Buffalo, honey barbecue, garlic parm, spicy ghost pepper. You can literally hear your taste buds after every bite. I'm serious. Listen to mine. Okay, that's just me playing with sound effects. For a whole new way to nug, gotta be Wendy's.
Gotta be fresh.
Open till midnight or later.
At participating U.S. Wendy's, hours may vary by location.
Hi, everyone. Matt here from Emmons Roofing and Siding. There are a lot of companies out there that say they do roofing, siding, windows, and doors. Some good, some not so good. Be careful of those that say buy 2, get 2 free. Does that really make sense? Think about it. At Emmons, we don't offer gimmicks, just quality products installed by our experienced craftsmen. We do offer 12 months, same as cash financing, though. That's not a gimmick. That's because we know how tough it is for some people right now to get these projects done. If you need roofing, siding, or windows and doors, call us for a free estimate today at 856-885-6677 or visit us at callemmons.com.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-700-6898. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-700-6898. That's 800-700-6898. For $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-700-6898. 800-700-6898.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-403-5569 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-403-5569. That's 800-403-5569. What do you have to lose? Call 800-403-5569. Again, 800-403-5569.
Follow Talk Radio 1210 on Instagram and Facebook at 1210 WPHT.
So once again, Governor Josh Shapiro did not deliver on his campaign promises. Remember that he promised when he was running for governor, this is his second budget, just passed the legislation yesterday, and the Commonwealth Foundation, many educational advocates saying that this is really a flawed, raw budget deal for Pennsylvania's children, and pointing out that Governor Shapiro promised this. I can't even believe that he could, speak out on this with a straight face when he promised those Lifeline scholarships that I've talked so much about this. I've had many different guests. I saw Beth Ann Rossica last night too, so we'll definitely get Beth Ann. It was so great to see her, but it was she's obviously the education specialist and PhD as an educator that was a Democrat at some point in her life, and then especially during the pandemic. As a parent, as an educator, as a PhD in education, okay, Beth Ann, she was one of those individuals who said the Democrat Party left her, and she is a conservative. She was at last night's big Republican event in Chester County. So the Pennsylvania legislature passing the state budget deals, I've been reporting since 6 o'clock this morning, and the Commonwealth Foundation writing that the deal really fails to address the true educational needs of students trapped in failing schools. You think about here, and I've talked about this to death, so it's important that I report this to you, and I should never be surprised because I'm a half glass full. I'm always hopeful, right? And I thought, oh man, they're going to get this right. They're going to do this. The budget includes a spending increase of 4.9%. It drains state reserves and positions now families for biggity big tax hikes coming soon in 2026, of course. So they're not going to do it. They're not going to put this in the headlines. And you notice it's not in the local headlines. Your taxes are going up. The deal creates a structural deficit of more than $3.6 billion, leaving Pennsylvania families and businesses bracing for the impact. As the Commonwealth Foundation, this is written in part by Commonwealth Foundation Senior Vice President Nathan Benefield, who I've interviewed Nate many times. He's here all the time. And he wrote, for families and businesses, there's not much to be happy about in this Pennsylvania state budget. Once again, Governor Josh Shapiro failing to deliver on campaign promises, reneged on his promise to enact Lifeline scholarships again for low-income kids trapped in the worst-performing schools for the second year in a row. He failed to provide significant tax relief, and he abandoned his commitment to meaningful regulatory reform. So instead of making Pennsylvania open for business, Shapiro has provided more of the status quo, more politics as usual. That was the response of Nate, and I know I'll have him on soon to talk about this one. But you think about taxes going up, thousands of children spending another year trapped in underperforming, unsafe schools, taxpayers, you betcha you're going to face tax hikes in 2026. It's really weird to me that there was a time in politics where for any politician, right, a lawmaker, a governor, a presidential candidate or president, to say, yep, I'm raising your taxes and say that out loud. They never would do that. And it's really shameless, but that's what's happening here. The difference, I think, is the media, as we've talked about and as we've seen with the reporting of Joe Biden. The media always has the back of Democrats. And so the media, the way that they're reporting this, by and large, either just biased by omission or burying that piece of it in the story. So Republicans were really pushing, I know in the legislature, they were pushing for tax cuts. But that's not going on here. Also, what I've talked a lot about is that the state Senate, the state Senate, okay, that's the Republicans, they passed meaningful legislation for families and businesses, including Lifeline scholarships, right? And the PASS system I've talked a lot about, Pennsylvania Award for Student Success. It's a scholarship program. It would give $10,000 to families to attend the school of their choice. But you would have to meet certain criteria. It would be a tax cut of nearly $900 per family and a bunch of other bills that would reduce all the bureaucracy, all the red tape. But House Democrats blocked these policies, and Governor Shapiro stood by. And so that's just it. He stood by and allowed the House Democrats to block tax cuts, to block these Lifeline scholarships. And by the way, anybody who says, oh, no, Dawn, it's for rich people. No, it's the opposite. The criteria for these scholarships, the Lifeline scholarships especially, the criteria is you have to meet a criteria of being in a poor performing school and a certain income level, meaning poor, working poor. That's what's going on here, okay? It's a slap in the face. It is. It's a slap in the face to you. And it's shocking to me. Something like 80% of Pennsylvanians were hoping for and have been polled and said 80%. And especially here in Philadelphia, these types of scholarships, as you well know, are huge with people, a game changer in the lives of children. Shame on the Democrats. And Governor Josh Shapiro is so disappointing that he did not keep this promise. So that's 2 school years. And you think about 2 school years for a kid who this fall, imagine that, if they had the hope that they could go to a better school and it would make their quality of life better and brighten their future. It's a disappointment. I know you're not surprised, but it's still sad. It's a sad statement. And that's, I think, in truth, on the national level and on the local level, and I try to give you more local here because a lot of the other shows, really talk national. But on a local level, I do think it's a microcosm for what we're seeing on the national level in the polls and these different focus groups where people are saying, yeah, the Democrats are lying. The media is lying in general. Whether that lie is a bias piece of, omission, whether it's a lie by omission, right? Or whether that lie is just being disingenuous, making up all these promises and then saying, oops, sorry, we couldn't get that done. Wasn't quite right. So I think that's why we will see Republicans prevail. I'm not just talking about Donald J. Trump at the top of the ticket, but I'm speaking about down ticket. And that's why we're seeing across the country the freak out that we're seeing. let me know what you actually thought if you listened or watched Biden last night. I would love to hear from you, because to me, I simply think that he's the same Joe Biden that I've been seeing for, nearly 4 years in office. I don't think that there's this sudden huge decline as people are saying. The only decline is Biden in the polls. That's what's new. Otherwise, there's nothing new. So the fact that Democrats and the media are complicit in this lets you know they're in lockstep. The media should be required by the FCC, the so-called news organizations in the national news outlets. They should be required to put a banner up stating that they are an arm of the DNC, of the Democrat Party, right? That's really what they should be required to do, because they've completely sold out and they are the spokespeople, and they are pushing for Joe Biden to step down and be replaced because they believe that Joe Biden will lose on November 5th. That is why. And that is a sin, as I say, a sin. 855-839-1210. I do have to take, should I take one call or do I have to take a break? I got to take a break. I'm really up against it. I apologize. All right, I got to take a break, and then I will take your calls on the other side. We do have a couple breaking news stories. I got to talk about Piazza. We are planning, and my family, we're planning our summer road trip. I know you're planning your summer road trips as well. You got to make sure your vehicle is road trip ready. My friends at Piazza Premium Automobiles, they are absolutely going to make sure you and your family are safe on the roads this summer. These service centers of the Piazza Premium dealers, they not only handle all the regular maintenance stuff, but they're going to diagnose possible issues. This is prevention. They're going to diagnose it, obviously, before you and your family hit the road. Schedule the service appointment. Do this today. Schedule online, PiazzaPremiumAutomobiles.com, Piazza. PiazzaPremiumAutomobiles.com. Tell them Dawn sent you.
Kale and Company, weekday mornings, 6 till 10.
Some of this might not be a surprise to Simpsons fans. They predicted that Donald Trump would run for president and become the president of the United States. They also projected faulty voting machines in U.S. elections. They predicted video calling would become a thing. And now we live in a world with FaceTime and Zoom, and Sherelle Parker losing her mind saying, hey, you other 20% of you bozos, get back to work. No more virtual. How about that? The Simpsons nailing things that maybe some of us never saw coming.
Start your day with Kale and Company. Weekday mornings 6 till 10 on Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, and the free Odyssey app.
Comedian Joe Conklin. Joel Embiid is excited. The process marches on. Paul George, welcome to Philadelphia. Morris, hallelujah. See Joe Conklin's comedy show at Archbishop Wood High School in Warminster, PA, Saturday, September 28th. For tickets, go to joeconklin.com. The Sixers will prevail. Oh, baby! joeconklin.com.
Are you worried about the state of the economy? Concerned about market crashes and rising inflation wiping out your savings? At Noble Gold Investments, we understand your fears and have a solution. Call us today at 1-888-403-1050. Imagine safeguarding you and your family with a tangible asset that has stood the test of time. Gold. With Noble Gold Investments, you can diversify your portfolio and protect your wealth from economic turmoil. Our team will guide you through the process, ensuring you make informed decisions that best suit your needs. Call Noble Gold Investments today at 1-888-403-1050. That's 1-888-403-1050. The future is uncertain. Take control now. Call 1-888-403-1050.
Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
Drowning in IRS debt? If you can't afford to pay your IRS debt due to economic hardship, you can now be free of IRS collection efforts by taking advantage of a special IRS tax hardship program. This program allows Americans who owe the IRS to resolve their delinquent tax debt once and for all. In some cases, maybe even reducing what you owe significantly. An open phone line has been established by Community Tax for consumers to call and see if they qualify. Simply dial 800-578 800-578-2415. If you owe back taxes to the IRS and cannot afford to pay them back or have years of unfiled tax returns, help is standing by. Just call the Community Tax Helpline today at 800-578-2415 for the help that you need. Don't take on the IRS alone. They can attack your wages, savings, pension, home, and even your Social Security check. That's 800-578-2415. To see if you qualify, that's 800-578-2415.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6986. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-575-6986. That's 800-575-6986.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
You're driving along when you realize...
Oh, I've got to get over. Oh my gosh, sorry.
You didn't see him, did you? He was in your blind spot. You can also have a blind spot when it comes to your retirement. That's where Joe Yakovich of JML Financial Group comes in. He knows about a little blind spot called taxes. Social Security, your pension, your investments, all can be taxable. Look, you don't want to end up saying,
will I be writing huge checks to the government when I retire?
Don't get blindsided by taxes. Make sure your retirement plan has a tax plan. With one call to JML Financial Group, 856-925-6674. That's 856-925-6674. Or at jmlfinancialgroup.com. Securities and investment advisory services offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC, member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company. JML Financial Group does not offer legal or tax advice. Please consult the appropriate professional regarding your individual circumstance.
At Cherry Hill Volvo, we are offering to qualified buyers a maximum discount of $13,176. This offer is good on all 2024 XC90s in stock. $13,176. Plus, the Cherry Hill Volvo 2024 model year sell down. Pricing and attention to detail here is not to be missed. Volvo should be on your shopping list now. This is the time to purchase from Cherry Hill Volvo.
Today, we're constantly taking photos and videos to remember our favorite moments. But what about those captured before the smartphone? What about the memories tucked away on aging VHS tapes, film reels, or in fading photos?
These cherished memories are fading away with time, vulnerable to threats like heat, moisture, and mold. But fear not, there's a solution to safeguard your legacy. Hi, I'm Adam.
And I'm Nick. Together we founded Legacy Box over a decade ago with one mission, to bring your memories into the 21st century.
It's time to bid farewell to old tapes you can't watch and faded photos. Legacy Box transforms them into digital treasures, ready to share with a click.
Just like magic, your shoebox of memories is now safely stored in the cloud or on a thumb drive.
Over 1 million families have trusted Legacy Box, so you can rest assured your priceless moments are in good hands.
Don't let your childhood fade away on old tapes. It's time to digitize those priceless moments.
Fast forward into the digital age. Visit legacybox.com/value and unlock 50% off your order. That's legacybox.com/value.
Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, WPHT HD, WOGL HD3, Philadelphia. Always live on the free Odyssey app. From the Cherry Hill Volvo Studios, where relationships matter. Live and local from Philadelphia. The Dawn Stensland Show on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Developing stories right now as a jury is deliberating the fate of New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez. Will they find him guilty? What if they acquit him? So ramifications politically in New Jersey if the once very popular Democrat and senator, very powerful, accused of a pay-to-play scheme, if you will, and that's thus his nickname, Gold Bar Bob. But Senator Menendez still polling at 3% as an independent. And that really could mess things up for not just Andy Kim, who's the popular Democrat there who left his gig or would leave his gig to run as a senator, Andy Kim. But then we have the gentleman I interviewed last week, Curtis Bashaw, Republican, another outsider, very authentic, and somebody who is well known in the business community, somebody who is, pro-choice, Republican, conservative businessman in New Jersey, and very authentic, when he talks about parental rights and conservative issues. So what's going to happen with that race? Will today's verdict, what effect will it have on the upcoming Senate race? So we're watching that for multiple different reasons. And then in the case of Sherelle Parker, the mayor, and her mandate, she wants all city workers to come back to work, report back to work full-time in person this Monday, July 15th. So they're all in court again. AFSCME, representing 4,000 city workers, saying, no. If you don't want us to be hybrid after 4 years of hybrid or zooming it in, then you got to pay more. You got to go to the negotiation table, and we have to. This is about collective bargaining. And what are you going to give us if you want everybody to go back full time? This would have ramifications for unions, certainly in the public sector, but as well in the private sector. So it's a case in our courts here locally with national ramifications. Another headline, and this is the New York Times: what is Project 2025 and why is Trump disavowing it? Well, that's just a stupid question. You know why he's disavowing it? Because I think I read you the True Social. He just said he completely disagrees with some of the policies in Project 2025. It's a think tank, Heritage Foundation, conservative think tank. Are they some of them former Trump people in his past administration? Yeah. But they just want to keep Project 2025. They have nothing. Another headline: Biden calls Kamala Harris vice president, Trump to kick off error-strewn big boy news conference. Oh, boy. So your reactions to all of that as we talk about Vice President Trump, wouldn't that be a hoot? So let's get your reactions. 855-839-1210. Elizabeth in Swarthmore. Hey, Elizabeth.
Hi.
Hi.
I don't think Joe Biden would have won if it wasn't COVID. I think he was showing symptoms then. He campaigned from his basement.
I think you're right.
I also think the voting with the drop boxes and all that, I'm not sure how much of that was on the up and up. And also, at this point, I've been a Democrat since 1977. I don't recognize this party. And also, on a personal note, I had a dad that had Alzheimer's, and I protected him from his hunting buddies or whoever, and they're doing nothing to preserve Joe Biden's dignity. And it made me very sad. I couldn't watch the whole thing last night because they just let him stumble everywhere. He stumbles talking, he stumbles walking, and they're okay with it. Like, it's on a personal level, it's very sad to watch that somebody would allow this to go on.
Yeah,
so
I agree with you on that, Elizabeth, that at some point it does feel as if this is somebody, again, to your exact point, Biden running that basement campaign and the pandemic allowing so much to happen or for us not to see things. But we also know the media has helped, has concealed this. And it is an incredible cover-up.
We don't have an unbiased media. And what happened to giving, they're not objective. They're just not, I don't trust the media. I mean, none of them, they're not objective. In how they call. Well, clearly they're not objective, or they would have been reporting on the cognitive decline of our president, which in fact is a crime because it puts this whole country in peril because you really don't know who's running the country. And the fact of the matter is, whoever is, we didn't elect.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the question. People are saying, who's been running things? Elizabeth, thank you so much. And I'm with you. My whole thing that I see is, and by the way, I want to ask you this. Did you watch it or were you listening? Because I was out an hour and 10-minute drive away from my home in Philadelphia. So I drove out to Westchester and for that great event last night. And thank you so much. And, I had Kathy Ingham and others, Neil Young earlier at 10. But thank you, Kathy, for setting that up and being a volunteer. And by the way, if you go through the Trump captain training, did you know that there are some opportunities that you would get a trip to Mar-a-Lago? They're doing all this cool training and stuff like that. So they really want people to sign up, get involved at all different levels, just to be involved in the process. And I think that's important for everybody. I think it's just wonderful to be involved in the process, no matter what your politics. But they really want eyes and ears at the polls and doing everything, of course, legally with transparency, but just getting people energized and getting people involved. I think it makes you feel good. And you know what else? And Elizabeth mentioned the pandemic. Just to be out last night at a social event, my gosh, I used to do that all the time. I used to be out maybe 3-4 days a week. I would be out at these different events all across the region. And you think about the effect of the pandemic, we just stopped being as social and doing more, quote unquote, the Zooming. And I think that it has affected all of us. So I hope that you do get involved, and we'll be talking more about that. As far as Joe Biden, I'm going to say this. I don't see, like I say, I listened to it last night because I had the long drive. And I was glad that they pushed it back, and then there was that long delay. So I was able to hear it. I was listening, but I didn't see it because I was in the car listening. So my question is this: did you listen to it, or were you visually seeing it? Because then early this morning, I watched it. Okay, for me, listening to it, it wasn't as bad. Because when you see the visual and then you see him even struggling at different points, you see what I'm saying? So to me, I really thought listening to it, no, it's not that bad because you're not seeing him shuffling away. You're not seeing the way that he physically, it's a struggle. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think that's a piece of it. But I will say this, I don't really think he's declined all that much in the past 3.5, nearly 4 years. 3.5 years. I don't see a huge difference because I live and breathe all this. I look at all the so-called raw news conferences. So I'm always looking at many different candidates and all the different news feeds that I'm watching that are not the edited versions of such that you might consume. And see, that's the difference. Anybody in news, and we talked about this back when it was the Biden basement campaign. Rich Zeoli, my God, he did whole segments on that back then. So we were talking about it, but the so-called mainstream media was not, and in fact was saying, oh, they're ridiculous. And of course, it goes along with the media cover-up. My point to you is that media cover-up, it did begin long ago. And then you include Russia, the Steele dossier. Think about, God bless the New York Post, who has been completely exonerated and vindicated. And I know Miranda Devine is all over that with the Hunter Biden story, the laptop. And remember the 51 high-level people in the government, in the know, in the CIA and so on, vouching for everything, and this all being poo-pooed. Think about the cover-up. This is a huge cover-up that has gone on for years, and the media has been complicit. And that's why you hear people like Elizabeth, but people across America saying something I've been saying for years, we're all getting played. And that's why you see so many people saying, I don't recognize my political party. So President Biden he was I loved the part where he said Vice President Trump. I'm sorry, but this was my favorite thing.
What concerns do you have about Vice President Harris's ability to beat Donald Trump if she were at the top of the ticket?
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there.
Excuse me. You know what no one is reporting on? He just misgendered Trump. Or Kamala, however you want to look at that. But didn't he just misgender a former president of the United States of America?
Sure sounds like it.
He called Trump a she. Now, unless Trump is trans and is going to come out at the big RNC convention, where Scioli will have the exclusive there, he did a misgendering. That's a sin. Look, people do misspeak. The problem here, and you know what I'm going to say. I do this yesterday. I accidentally said, I was talking about the Trump attorneys in court and the fact that, and I was saying that yesterday was July 11th and that the Democrats, had hoped and looked forward to July 11th and the convicted felon, right, going to court, going to jail, cuff him, and how that had been postponed. And I misspoke because I accidentally said it was postponed until September 11th because I just said July 11th, and it's not. And I came back and I corrected it. But the point is, we all do this in normal conversation, especially when there's a lot going on and blah, 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 right? But he knows what a big deal this particular news conference, the big boy news conference. And so he knew what a big deal it was. And so earlier to introduce President Zelensky as President Putin, I thought that was really weird. And it does show you, I don't know, the Freudian nature, the Freudian slips, what is on his mind. And so Putin and Trump clearly living rent-free, as I can hear Scioli saying this, living rent-free in Biden's brain. And so it shows you what he's thinking about. Putin is on his mind, and obviously Trump is front and center on his mind. He's under a lot of pressure. And, to Elizabeth's point, if you've been a caretaker, and my in-laws, had issues with dementia and with Alzheimer's, which is a horrible, horrible illness and cruel. And so for anybody who has been a caretaker with a loved one who has any level of dementia or, God forbid, the Alzheimer's, to see this and think about how cruel it is and to not preserve people's dignity. I will say this, I don't think he has Alzheimer's at all. I'm not alleging that, but I think that he is no different as far as his level of cognitive acuity, if you will. I don't see a huge difference from what I saw last night from 3.5 years ago. You can disagree with me, 855-839-1210, but he's gone 3.5 years, pretty much the same. And so what is another few months going to make? Do you see what I'm saying? And then he'll be able to retire. And pretty much when Trump wins on November 5th, and I believe he will, just Republicans do have to keep their eye on the ball and cannot be complacent, obviously. But is it embarrassing? Can you even imagine Putin's response? Because good old Pootie, he sees this.
I'm thinking about everybody else's response.
You mean other world leaders?
Other world leaders.
But they've known. They just saw him they just saw him for days.
Yeah.
Right? So they all know.
They all know, but how about the ones that, aren't at those summits? How about
they're
the ones
not really
that
important.
hate us?
They're not really important. Oh, you mean the terrorists?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
They see that. That all I saw last night was weakness, unfortunately. It was sad. It's very sad, even though I did laugh at the President Putin thing. That was funny.
Vice President Trump, I love it.
And
of course, Trump putting out, he's been iconic with that. I will say this, that our enemies and terrorists around the world, when they saw, and Trump has said this, so I'm really paraphrasing something that Trump has repeated, and that is when they saw that disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, Abbey Gate, that was Biden, they knew right then how vulnerable we are, okay? So we don't, this whole argument by Democrats and the so-called mainstream media that, the 25th Amendment, he's not fit to serve, BS. You're just worried about the poll numbers. If you're running for office as a Democrat and you're worried about the down ticket effect, sucks to be you. Should have had better policies. Should not have been a rubber stamp like Chrissy Houlihan in the 6 congressional districts in Pennsylvania. Have better policies. Do a better job. Work harder. Be best, as Melania Trump says. She's getting her wardrobe ready, darling. Darling, I think I will wear a lot of red. And get some more highlights. I'm looking forward to renovating the White House and getting back the Be Best campaign, darling.
Thank you, Melania.
I'm not, I have to work on that. Sean Farish, who's, I think, the best in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
The best.
At both Biden and Trump.
And that's just it. And Nancy Pelosi. He needs to be on. I know he was invited, and I think he had other gigs, and he's so loyal that he didn't want to give that up.
Right.
I just think Sean Farish, and you let me know, but I think they should try to get him in there, even for one day.
Oh, if he can squeeze
at
it
the
in,
RNC.
I think he should, yeah.
But I think he's such a polite individual, and he's so loyal.
Right.
And he doesn't want to cancel things. And his story is so amazing that, as a native New Yorker, one of the people during the pandemic and moved to the South, but that he was actually at a bowling alley. We have to ask him about this. We have so much to talk about all the time, but Sean's story is, I don't know if you knew this or not, he was like at a bowling alley with buddies and started, he's funny, did acting, obviously went to journalism school, but is just really a good impersonator. And so that's how that happened. It was just kind of, his friends were like, dude, you're good.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's all you need sometimes, just a vote of confidence from someone in your inner circle.
Well put.
Yeah.
I love that. Great advice. Henry Mashett with the last word. All right, we got to take a quick break. 855-839-1210. I'll take your calls around the corner. Be right back.
This is Larry Steinitz with Investor Schooling. You may know me from my book, Money Hacks. You may know me from my radio shows. And you may even know me from some of these commercials. But listen, I'm teaching stuff that people need to learn about money. In fact, my favorite topic is money. So go to investorschooling.com and you will learn things about money that you never even knew existed. We will teach you things about real estate, about the stock market, and about how to use your IRAs properly. Go to investorschooling.com and sign up for a complimentary class this Thursday night at 7 o'clock. That's investorschooling.com. This is Larry Steinitz with Investor Schooling. Are you tired of hearing about the recession that's coming? Are you prepared for it? Well, listen, at investorschooling.com, we're going to teach you ways to prepare for the recession that you didn't even know existed. We're going to teach you strategies on how to use real estate. We're going to teach you strategies how to use the stock market properly. That's right, you can even make money in the stock market when the stock market goes down. Hey, go to investorschooling.com and register for a free class this Thursday night, and you will learn all of these techniques. Go to investorschooling.com right now, RSVP for this Thursday. We'll see you there.
Hi, I'm Rachel, and I have a serious heart condition called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, or HCM. Some symptoms include being short of breath, feeling tired, or having dizziness or chest pain. I still had symptoms on my beta blocker, so I asked my cardiologist about any treatment advances. It was a breakthrough for me. That's why I'm working with Bristol Myers Squibb to raise awareness about HCM and to help others like me. Talk to your cardiologist today and visit hcmrealtalk.com for more information.
Sponsored by Bristol Myers Squibb.
Hey, it's Greg with Kale & Company. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But the playoffs just ended. The Boston Celtics won. And now we get fewer games. But it's okay. Have no fear. Because with FanDuel Sportsbook in partnership with Valley Forge Casino, it keeps the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. During the summer, FanDuel in partnership with Valley Forge Casino is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. All you have to do is go to FanDuel.com/Greg, FanDuel.com/Greg, and make the most out of your summer. You still have baseball. The Phillies are playing well. FanDuel Sportsbook is the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Don't forget FanDuel.com/Greg. 21 and over, present in Pennsylvania. Opt-in required. Wager requirements apply. Bonuses awarded as non-withdrawable bonus bets or profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including bonus expiration. See terms and conditions at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Why shop at Gerhardt's Appliances? Since 1945, we've been the local appliance store known for our package deals, exclusive rebates, and personalized customer service. We have laundry pairs starting at $8.99, 4-piece stainless steel kitchen packages from $14.99, and free local shipping over $3.99. We service what we sell. We give back to our community and yours. So shop small and save big. Gerhardt's Appliances, the heart of Philly's kitchen for over 75 years.
Free speech lives here with Don Stensland weekdays 10 till noon. Talk Radio 1210. WPHT.
So as we think about President Joe Biden, the polls, ABC News poll says despite Biden's performance, they're neck and neck. And Kamala, according to ABC News, Kamala Harris against Trump, Kamala wins. Well, let's try that then. They should just go for that. Wouldn't that be nice? So polls showing Biden's support. Some polls saying his support has cratered. You heard Biden last evening. And by the way, you heard him last evening say that he's doing his insider polls. They're doing much better than that. He did say at one point that he would step aside if the doctor told him that he must step aside. So he did acknowledge that, which I was kind of blown away by. But think about this. It was originally supposed to be 5:30. They did announce it was supposed to be at 6:30, that it would be pushed back at 6:30. Then it was pushed back, I believe, about an hour later that they finally came out. And then he spoke for about an hour. I actually thought as it went on, he made sense talking about his policies. Again, I did not think that he was so different than 3.5 years when he took office. What's different is, I guess, the average person sees it on full display. You could argue that, but let's be honest here. It's not about his medical condition. It's not about his mental acuity. It is about his polling. It is about the fact that right now they know Trump is set to win if that election were held today. I still would say this. Joe Biden could still win the presidency. There are so many different factors in play. You know that. I know that. And so Republicans, former Democrats, independents, really, if you want this to be a successful election for America, get involved. Get involved in the process. So sign up, work at your local, polling place, sign up and get involved. Honestly, everybody needs to get involved and not just complain afterwards. And you know what? There are a lot of no-shows at the polls. So that's important too. A lot of people say, I'm going to vote in person, and then you don't because things happen. Life happens. 855-839-1210 is the number to call. Joe, I didn't get to you yesterday, so I got to take Joe. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Dawn. How are you?
Good.
I could see how you heard what you heard from Biden's speech yesterday, but you had to see what we saw. And there's a collection of us from the Zioli Army that were interacting together. The first thing we noticed was he coughed a lot when he first came out, and it was almost a cover-up to say you didn't cough enough at the debate, so you better cough a lot tonight. And he did, and he stopped. It just ceased immediately. One of our consortiums saw that, but we also started noticing the anyways, the many anyways. When he can't continue a thought, he abbreviates himself and goes to anyway, and then he finishes for the next road to go down. And the visual that comes with that is very, very, he looks helpless. He looks very, very helpless.
So do you think that he looks different, that you have seen a measured decline over the last 3.5 years?
At the outset, I've heard people like Sean Hannity say he's losing it, and I didn't believe it at the time. Way back during the original debates, 2020 debates, I always play devil's advocate, and I didn't see it. But as time went on, over probably I want to say the last year and a half, I personally I've noticed the decline in him. I have. Yeah, you know, you hear the traits about, you know, the anger that comes with the decline. You kind of brush that aside, but I saw the fishing and the eye wandering in him that, you know, made me realize that maybe people saw it before I did. And I want to tell you, we tried to make a point to get out to Westchester last night, but we just couldn't make it, a few of us.
Well, they're going to have more events.
Yeah, I plan on getting to one of those with you. But the other thing I want to tell you is we started calling you the Greater Mika.
That's funny.
With your association with her in the past, she is the lesser Mika.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it. No, that's nice. No, I can't say it on the air right now, but there are going to be a lot of really cool local events happening, and we'll be announcing that. So it's so much fun to get together, and especially for those of us in the original Zioli Army.
Yeah.
And now the family has grown. It's so cool, isn't it, to just when everybody gets together?
Oh, yeah. It is, because we make a point to get down to either Mulligan's or the Grand Hotel whenever we can. And on those lines, I want to ask you something.
What?
And I threw this out there on X, and you never responded.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. What are the chances of a Dawn Rich reunion live?
Oh, like to go to the Grand Hotel and do his news for him one Friday or something like that? I would do that. That'd be fun. I think it's great. Truthfully, with the kids, because David's he did qualify for the Junior Olympics, but I tell Henry, who is who also in high school did throws, did shot put and jab and discus and all that. It's just I'm from the football field, and I'm driving him everywhere and getting him some food because the boys are eating us out of the house, and then I'm pretty much every night I get home. I leave the house. I'm obviously up at 4 a.m, and I'm getting home after 9 p.m. So it's just a rat race. And that's just it. Like, I make a point. I subscribe to everything, and I'm listening usually in the car. My poor kids get subjected to this, right? But I'm always listening. But I can relate to the fact that most people, if you're working and your kids and your life, and most people right now are not really paying attention to everything that we are paying attention to. And that's why it's important to even, come out of the closet as that conservative, talk to neighbors, talk to friends about what is going on, and just even say, just look it up. Do me a favor here. Just look it up. Because,
and you know what, Dawn?
Right?
These groups that got together, akin to the Zioli Army, were the result of that, being robbed of that during COVID.
Yeah.
The cohesiveness and the camaraderie, the community that spun off of all that is incredible. It really is.
Yeah, and that's, you know what? You make a great point that it was what the Democrats in particular, what they stole from us, what career progressive partisans, I'm not even going to say Democrats, what they stole from us in our lives. They damaged us. That's how I feel. And that, I think, part of what we're seeing right now is the backlash.
Right. And I have some friends. I mean, they just could not. They still feel like they were unable to get that back. Yeah. It's a shame.
It is.
It is a frailty, but you got to try. You got to try, and you got to keep fighting.
We are fighting. That's the theme. If you saw that Neil Young wrestling video, that's how we started out with him saying, you got to fight for what you believe in. Joe, I thank you. I'm up against a tough break. Quick break. I'll take your calls, 855-839-1210. Bit of breaking news as well. Be right back.
Weather sponsored by the Piazza Auto Group.
A stalled frontal boundary and tropical moisture will keep the threat for heavy showers and storms around through the day today. Flood watch remains in effect, high 84. Tonight, showers and storms continue, low 73. And Saturday, still some showers around, especially in the morning, with a high 88.
The Acura Summer of Performance event is happening now at Piazza Acura of Ardmore, Reading, and Westchester. Get financing as low as 2.9% for 48 months on the all-electric ZDX. Shop online at piazzaacura.com.
I juggle a lot. And managing constipation with belly pain from my irritable bowel syndrome with constipation, or IBS-C, with laxatives and fiber isn't enough. My doctor recommended a way to get ahead of it. Then I said yes to Linzess.
Linzess linaclotide is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. It's not a laxative. It's a once-daily pill that helps you get ahead of your symptoms. It's proven to help you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually. Do not give Linzess to children less than 2. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. Talk to your doctor and learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS.
Eric was way behind on his taxes.
I owed a lot of money to the IRS, almost $15,000. I tried to make payments.
The IRS wasn't satisfied with Eric's efforts, so they came after him full force.
They're coming to put a lien and a hold on all my income, my home, my car. I was just overwhelmed at what to do.
Then Eric called Optima Tax Relief.
When Optima Tax got involved, the calls would stop, the threats would stop. It was easy like, 1, 2, 3.
Optima Tax Relief is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, and their team of expert tax professionals took care of Eric's problem.
I owe $15,000, and now my debt is clean. I don't owe anything.
Take Eric's advice.
If you have a tax problem, you need to call Optima Tax now.
Call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840. Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Feel like everything's clouded by doubt? Visit CaliforniaPsychics.com. Our psychics are available to talk 24/7, and we guarantee if it's not life-changing, it's free. Experience the joy of certainty. California Psychics.
Snakes, zombies, public speaking. The list of fears is endless. But the real danger is in your hand when you're behind the wheel. Distracted driving is what's really scary and even deadly. Eyes forward, don't drive distracted. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
You can host the best backyard barbecue when you find a professional on Angie to make your backyard the best around. Connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. Inside to outside, repairs to renovations. Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today. You can do this when you Angie that.
Hey, Clementon. We know your favorite station is Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. WPHT.
So Trump's attorneys were in court just yesterday. Remember, it's kind of ironic, July 11th, and they're pushing a state court in New York to completely throw out his conviction, which is rich, because then the Democrats would have to pay money to redo all of their ads because, you know, they love saying Trump, convicted felon or convicted criminal. Well, we'll see if it gets thrown out. They can't say convicted criminal or convicted felon if the whole thing gets thrown out. Speaking of getting thrown out, here's a headline from the Human Rights Campaign. Quote, here's the headline. Ready? MAGA House Republicans pass resolution to undo Title IX rule protecting LGBTQ plus students, pregnant and parenting students, and survivors of sex assault and harassment. And so it's all about them, protecting them. USA Today, House moves to block Biden's Title IX rule supporting LGBTQ plus students. This is what the House Republicans did was they passed a bill that would protect girls and women and girls and women's rights, right? That's what that is. So these are the headlines. This is the way that it's being portrayed. But in truth, this is Joe Biden's radical, far left, progressive policy. It was an executive order, Title IX, that would really, it would be a one-size-fits-all situation. I'll have to revisit this next week with Terry Tracy, perhaps, or Broad and Liberty, because he really, I think, he talks about it in such a way that he simplifies what this is all about. But Biden's Title IX changes went even way further than, because this started with Obama, but Biden like supersized it and robbed girls and women in sports, but especially at local schools, at high schools, middle schools, colleges, any of these places, any place that takes these federal funds. As a girl, a woman, you have no rights. And a biological male naked next to you changing in a locker room, that's just wrong. That defies common sense. That's wrong. It's abuse, for crying out loud. It also, though, and here's the sneaky part of this, and if you remember, Terry Tracy had talked about this from Broad and Liberty, and well, I know I'll have him on soon, but essentially, the Title IX rule disallows the due process and the transparency when these situations arise. That does affect transgender. So let's say there's a transgender student who's being bullied or something at school, right? What the Title IX new Biden rule says is, they don't have to be transparent about it. So they can go behind the scenes. They can handle it in a way that it's shuffled under the carpet, and there's not due process, transparency, etc. That's a problem. You see, Trump's, and contrarily, Trump's Title IX rule, and remember Trump, this was my question when Nick Hale and I asked him about, had him on live that Friday. What was that? Now it feels like a year ago. It was only a few weeks ago. But Trump told me when I asked this, he said, no, day one we'll reverse all of this and make sure that girls and women are protected and respected. But that's just it. Trump gets rid of all of this nonsense and allows for due process, transparency for all, and protects everybody, including the LGBTQ plus community, from being bullied or discriminated against. Of course, nobody should be bullied in school or anywhere else. Nobody should be discriminated against. That's what Trump says. He's exactly right. We have Larry, and I'm sorry, I went on and I lost some of you, so I apologize. So I wanted to get that in about Title IX. Larry, I can't see where you are, Lair, but not my Lair Bear. Not my Lair Bear, a different Lair. Hey, you.
Yeah. Hey, you. I just find it interesting over the years with Biden, nobody ever brought up the comparison to Reagan in his second term. And I'm starting to see in the news feeds that it is coming up. But all through Reagan's second term, at least they questioned his mental abilities, his dementia. But, of course, that was the opposite party. Mm-hmm. And who was running the White House then? Do you remember?
Nancy Reagan.
Yeah.
Nancy. Yeah. That was, Nancy was, in many ways, was vilified in the media. And I'll bring up another thing with Reagan, and this is something, if you study in history, media, and that's my wheelhouse, and I was a journalism professor at some point in my life, not so long ago. I did some, just an adjunct professor at a local university. But one thing that we study is thinking about the fact that Reagan really started what a lot of presidents have followed, and that is that, and this perhaps Nancy Reagan orchestrated this, I'm not sure, but because they did not want him to take the questions, it was the old in front of the chopper, right? The loud, and that was Reagan, and he would, and I would play this for my journalism students and show, it was Sam Donaldson, longtime ABC News White House correspondent, and Reagan would put his hand to his ear and say, "What, Sam?" And it was, and so it was this strategy to distance from the media, but at the same time to appear, right, that you're making yourself available, but you have that distraction of the loud chopper. And to this day, people say, why do they do it? I know Trump did it, and Biden does it as well. I mean, sometimes the truth is they are leaving, and that's when the media has access. But I think certainly in the Reagan years, and they later admitted that they did that as a media strategy. So I think, what you bring up is a great point, and that is throughout history, we've seen different times when first ladies, caretakers, were covering up in different Republican, or whether you want to say this, in other words, to your great point, this is not something new. And I think what's different in this case was, yes, the pandemic made it different because we didn't get to see the candidates as much, because we were all Zooming in and that sort of thing. And that's really when it started. And then the other piece of it is to ask the question to the media, well, how long have you guys recognized this? And you really didn't report it as much as you are now. Although I will say, like Anderson Cooper there were people who did point this out. It's not that nobody pointed it out. You know what I'm saying? There were people on all the different networks who at some point had to point something out. It just was not supersized like it is right now.
Well, they can't hide it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right, Larry. Thank you so much. I hope you have a blessed Friday. You're just the most, as Rich Scioli always says, you're the best and most brilliant audience in the world, and that you're so sharp. And the Scioli Army, on social media last night and pointing out things like the cough, and that is I love that kind of insight. So I speak for all of us, whether it's, Nick and Greg in the morning or with Dom, Rich, obviously, and Walter. I mean, all of us, really, Matt Rooney, who we want to have Matt Rooney coming forth, especially with the possible jury as the verdict could come any minute now.
Yeah, I'll get the Roonster on.
Yeah, the Roonster. Is that what you call him?
Behind closed doors.
Matt Rooney, who's a host here, obviously, as you know, on Sunday evenings, but he's a full-time attorney in New Jersey and husband and diaper changing daddy. So he's got that going on.
He does it all.
He does it all. For sure. Do I have to take a break? I do. Quick break, 855-839-1210. I'll try to wrap up some of the other, there's just so much breaking and developing. So I want to wrap up some of the developing and breaking stories. And 855-839-1210 around the corner. And then Dom Giordano, wow, the Dom show is coming up. And then the Scioli show, blockbuster stuff, a jam-packed day for you right here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
It's the Saturday Night Free-for-All. Starting at 7 p.m., Talk Radio 1210 WPHT is live and local with Michael Pelka from 7 to 10 p.m.
Just look what they're doing to Robert Kennedy. They got his family to go against him in Philadelphia. And I have to say this, that family looks like there's a whole lot of problems there. I know they're trying to play off on the Camelot magic of JFK. It's definitely been bred out of the family. The magic, I think, is gone. But that's just me.
The Saturday Night Free-for-All. Listen this weekend. Talk Radio 1210 WPHT and on the free Odyssey app.
My name is Andy Donaldson. I've been with Crash Proof Retirement since the beginning of 2014. The main reason Crash Proof is so phenomenal is there's no way that the original investment you put in is going to be any less than you started. In addition, you do get significant returns. A number of the different investment strategies that I've been involved with have given me 10 to 15% returns annually. With the Crash Proof Retirement System this year, I made almost 11.5%. It's quite a nice feeling to know that at the end of your year, whatever you've gained, the 10 or 15%, now becomes your new principal amount and you never lose it.
Learn how double-digit interest returns can be permanently compounded to your principal with no risk of loss in a legally binding recorded financial meeting. Schedule an appointment or register for our next event at Downingtown Country Club, July 23rd. 800-722-9728 or crashproofretirement.com.
For eligible individuals, 18 and older only. Results vary. See website for details and important safety information.
How are your hearing aids sounding now?
A little tinny.
Okay, 2 seconds.
With Jabra Enhanced Select's premium package, better hearing doesn't happen in a doctor's office. It happens at home, all done remotely from initial testing to adjustments.
How are they sounding now?
Fantastic. So much better.
You get the same advanced hearing aid technology and professional support you expect from a clinic at a fraction of the cost. And if you have any issues, we'll make adjustments 7 days a week, no charge.
Oh, you people are wonderful.
Our premium package includes hearing aids, 3 years of follow-up care, plus a 3-year warranty with loss and damage coverage, and a 100-day money-back guarantee.
I hear better than I ever thought possible.
Save $300 on Enhanced Select 500 hearing aids automatically at checkout. Just go to jabraenhance.com/try. That's JABRA enhance.com/try. jabraenhance.com/try.
See Joe Conklin and the City Rhythm Orchestra at Cherokee High School in Marlton, New Jersey, Saturday, October 26th. For tickets, go to joeconklin.com. joeconklin.com!
If you're in the restaurant, hospitality, or casino business and you're not using a PDQ POS system, it's time to make the switch. PDQ POS will not only save you time, effort, and money, but it's the fastest, easiest, and most reliable POS available. That's why PDQ POS has been the top-rated restaurant management system for over 35 years. Whether you have a single location restaurant or thousands of locations, PDQ can help your business succeed. Visit pdqpos.com.
Congratulations to American Heritage Credit Union, who was just named the 2024 Best in State Credit Unions list by Forbes for 2 years in a row. Your friends at Odyssey want to congratulate the entire American Heritage Credit Union team for this prestigious honor.
Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel yet?
Not yet.
Do it today.
Okay.
At 1210 WPHT. WPHT.
So much happening today. Pennsylvania budget. They've got a budget, finally, 2 weeks late. Pennsylvania lawmakers reached that $47.5 billion budget. Exactly, it's $47.6 billion. Sweeping changes. Oh, the headline in the Inquirer, sweeping changes to public education. Okay, and so the unbelievable part here is that they're increasing the spending by 6.2%. That's almost $3 billion more than last year, fiscal year. Wow. And so what does that mean? It means coming up, your taxes, all of our taxes are going to go up. That's what that one means. Nobody's talking about that, of course, in the headline. And then the other one is, I do want to just remind you that what's going on in Philadelphia, this court case in which union workers refuse to come back to full-time in-person employment, and they took to court Mayor Sherelle Parker after her mandate that everybody must be in person. This is going on in court all day yesterday and all day today. A decision could come before the end of today. It will be reported on nationally. This will have a reaction nationally because these are AFSCME union workers, government workers. But I would submit to you that I suspect that we will see people in the private sector then, and even here at Odyssey World headquarters. So I'd say half of us, or I don't know what the percentage is, but we have a lot of people in AFTRA, SAG-AFTRA, right?
Yeah, I know. I'm a part of it.
Okay. So then if it's a bargaining, if it's, in other words, if this is something that should be negotiated and people have been hybrid or full-time Zooming, they would have the right to go back to the bargaining table. That's what the union is arguing. And Sherelle Parker says no. This impacts about 20% of the city workers on that so-called hybrid or Zoom it in schedule. I can't believe this. They've been Zooming it in or hybrid for 4 years. That's ridiculous.
Must be nice to be a city worker.
I know. Well, that's just city. Remember Comcast? They've been dealing a lot of companies. They can't get people to come back. They're refusing. It's really crazy. But so we're watching that.
Well, then if they don't come back, then they don't have a job. Just get rid of them and just say, look, there are 30 people who want this gig.
Exactly.
If you don't want to come back, I got 20 resumes sitting on my desk of people that don't want to come back, of people that want a job.
And Cheryl Parker's still on her honeymoon. So, Mayor Parker, I would love to hear you say that. She's feisty and respected, and she's in her honeymoon. Go for it. Let's take Ann in Springfield really quick here if we could. Hey, Ann.
Hi, Dawn. I just want to mention, I think this business of the IQ and the mentality and the character of Joe Biden go way back. I always felt that Obama chose him for his vice president because he would be his useful idiot. He would do anything that he wanted. Of course, he was stuck with Hillary Clinton, but he shipped her off as Secretary of State, so she was out of the country most of the time. But there's a history with Biden where he bullied who he could, and he butt-kissed anybody that he needed to. And you just have to look back at his history. He called Nelia Biden his millionaire wife. She helped put him through school, through college, Syracuse University.
His first wife.
And I think poor Hunter Biden is more to be pitied than scorned, because I think that kid remembers more of that auto accident than his conscious mind will allow him.
Yeah.
And that whole thing was covered up. If you're going to uncover anybody's papers, find out where Biden buried his little time capsule there, supposedly University of Delaware, and see if the missing tape and the missing documents from the FBI, the confidential human informant, those papers all disappeared.
Yes.
So there's a huge, those of us who live on the border of Pennsylvania know him since he was, cheating at Hartfeld Golf Course, and nobody wanted to partner up with him because he was such a problem. The people at Amtrak became his personal slaves. You've heard of the Rolling Stones. He had himself a rolling throne. And single parent, heck, he went home to his babysitter, not to being a single father. So there's so much negative about him that hasn't come out. And the intellectual part of it, he used people, he abused people, and he was never the sharpest tool.
Well,
so
Ann,
there were a lot of indications of it.
Thank you, Ann. Talking about the history going back. By the way, I did want to mention this site. This is a local University of Pennsylvania story. So he has developed in the past 6 months a media bias detector. A media bias detector. University of Pennsylvania scientist. And so I'll talk more about this next week, but I'm kind of fascinated by this. So he is a Penn integrates knowledge professor, and at the Annenberg School for Communication, School of Engineering and Applied Science, and the Wharton School. So they all work together, equipping regular people, they say, with a powerful, useful resource to better understand how major events like this election are being reported on. So the Penn Media Bias Detector uses AI, artificial intelligence, and then it analyzes articles from major news publishers and then looks through the topics and detects the tone, partisan lean, and the fact selection. So this, according to this. He also notes, and I'll get into this more next week, would you believe this? I'll have to have fun with this over the weekend and see what the bias detector is saying. But he noted that television viewers, 17% of people in the United States consuming TV news from only partisan left or right-leaning sources. Quite frankly, I'm amazed that that number is only 17%. Because I don't know many people who do what we do here at WPHT, which we flip around and we try to consume a whole lot of different media, all different, left, right, and all points in between. Listen, I thank you so much for listening. We'll talk, obviously, the big RNC. Our own Rich Scioli is going to be there. Dom is up next with an incredible Dom show. And I can't wait for the next week to be with you. Thank you for spending this week with us here, Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. I'm Dawn Stensland. You have a blessed Friday.
Wow, honey, have you seen the electric bill?
Yeah, it's out of control. But have you heard of Navien tankless water heaters?
Tankless? How does that even